Hello and welcome to Ultra Care Pro YouTube channel. Subscribe to this channel to learn more about Ultra Care Pro products, its services and its usage. Friends, if you who are someone who is suffering from wrist pain, then this video is a must watch for you. Because I'm going to not only tell you what are the do's and don'ts of a wrist pain, but I'm also going to show you some simple exercises that will give you wrist pain relief. So if you who are someone who is experiencing wrist pain, make sure to watch this video till the end. Let's begin. So friends, wrist pain could happen due to multiple reasons, but majority of time wrist pain is following an injury. An injury that has happened to the joint or else to the structures around the joint like nerve, ligament, tendon, fascia, muscle, etc. In all of this situation, one thing that is very important to remember that if the wrist pain is due to injury and if the wrist pain is acute, then you need to follow something called as RICE regime, which stands for rest, ice, compression and elevation. It's important to give rest to your wrist joint. It's also important to apply ice pack over the wrist joint. It's also important to apply some level of compression with the help of a crepe bandage or else a belt to reduce the chances of swelling from there. And it's also important to elevate the hand so that there is no fluid accumulation and you can get rid of the swelling. So that's the number one tip when it comes to the do's part of wrist pain. The second important thing that I would suggest for do's part of the wrist pain is that you should definitely see a doctor. Many times wrist pain could be a sign of an internal fracture or else some major damage. Until unless you diagnose it with the help of radiation or say imagery technique, you won't be able to find it out. So make sure to see a doctor whenever your pain persists for more than 24 hours. The third tip that I would like to give you if you are suffering from wrist pain is to make sure that you apply ice pack for a multiple period of time. That means every 3 or 4 hours of interval. Acute wrist pain can very easily manage with the help of ice pack because ice pack will cause an immediate vasoconstriction followed by vasodilatation. Due to this process, there would be a new blood flow that will happen. All the chemical toxins would be removed and there would be a good blood supply present at the injured area. So these were the tips when it comes to the things to take care. Now when it comes to the don'ts that you have to avoid when you are suffering from wrist pain, these are as follows. Number one, don't lift heavy weights from the hand which is injured. It's very obvious, but many times people tend to lift more weight from the affected side thinking that that will make the wrist stronger. But remember this, right now the wrist is injured and it requires rest. That means you should avoid lifting heavy weights. Second thing, don't overstretch your wrist region. Many times people think that stretching is a good way to reduce pain. Stretching actually have no impact on pain reduction. Stretching is good to do but not in the initial phase of wrist pain. So make sure to wait for some time, let the recovery happen and then move on to the stretching and strengthening part. The third important thing, if you have got any injury which is causing tingling numbness, then you should not ignore that. It's important to see your doctor because tingling numbness could be the sign of something called as carpal tunnel syndrome or some sort of nerve entrapment syndrome. The fourth thing to avoid when it comes to wrist pain is the fact that don't limit the movements as well. When I say that you have to avoid exertive activity, that does not mean that you have to avoid using the hand. You need to continue moving your wrist, you need to continue moving your hand, but in a pain-free range. So these were some of the tips that you have to consider in mind. Now let me show you some simple, easy and effective wrist pain exercise that will improve joint proprioception, improve range of motion without hurting the muscles around it. Let's have a look. So friends, let me show you some simple and effective exercise for your wrist pain. Make sure to give support to your wrist with other hand and then do some gentle wrist exercises like number one, this is flexion and extension in pain-free range. So raise your wrist up and then down for 5 counts. You can do this up to 10 counts as well. 2, 3, 4 and 5. Similarly, you will rotate the wrist and do this up and down. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 and relax. Now coming back, you will rotate 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 anti-clockwise. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and relax. And then gradually you will open your wrist and close the wrist. 2, 3, 4, 5 and relax. Last comes the holding of bended wrist. So bend your wrist, hold and then come back. Make sure you don't stretch out here. You're just holding in a pain-free range and then coming out. Similarly, you will hold upwards, hold in the pain-free range and then come back. 2, 3, 4 and 5. So friends, these were some simple yet effective exercise for wrist pain. Remember to do this exercise only in pain-free range. It looks very simple, but when you try to put good focus while doing this exercise and make sure that you are doing this exercise in a very controlled and gentle manner, your joints will become loose, you will feel less stiffness and your pain will eventually be better. I hope you found this video helpful. If yes, make sure to like this video, share this video with your friends and family members, and do not forget to subscribe to UltraCare Pro YouTube channel. There are many health products that are available on their website, so also check that out because that will help you to get your pain relief. See you in another video. Thank you.